The discovery chamber deep within the Kepler station hummed with nervous energy. Scientists from 12 different species crowded around the ancient artifact that had puzzled the galaxy's greatest minds for over 3 centuries. The armor stood in the center of the room, gleaming despite its age, defying every attempt at analysis or activation. Dr. Zephyr, a tall Altarian with crystalline skin that shifted colors with his emotions, approached the display case for the 100th time that month. His skin flickered between deep purple frustration and orange curiosity as he studied the mysterious suit. The armor appeared humanoid in shape, but that meant little since most intelligent species in the galaxy shared similar bipedal forms. "Still nothing?" asked Commander Thax, the station's Vraxian administrator. Her forearms gestured impatiently while her mandibles clicked in annoyance. The insectoid leader had invested considerable resources into this research project, and the lack of progress was beginning to strain her patience. "The same result as always," Zephyr replied, his skin now showing resigned blue tones. "The armor recognizes our presence but refuses any form of interaction. Our most advanced scanning equipment cannot penetrate its surface, and every attempt at direct contact results in complete rejection." The armor had been discovered on a dead world at the edge of the galaxy, buried beneath layers of ancient civilization. Its technology surpassed anything the Galactic Council had ever encountered. The metal appeared to be alive, shifting and flowing like liquid mercury while maintaining its solid form. Intricate patterns covered every surface, glowing faintly with an inner light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Professor Keth, a scholarly Tellurian whose tentacles writhed thoughtfully, approached from the data analysis station. His species was known throughout the galaxy for their analytical minds and patience with complex problems. "If anyone could solve this puzzle, it would be a Tellurian. I have reviewed all our data once more," Keth announced, his voice carrying the melodic quality typical of his people. "The armor's energy signature is unlike anything in our databases. It appears to be scanning us continuously as if searching for something specific, but what that something might be remains a complete mystery." Dr. Nira, a Centaurian with her characteristic blue skin and graceful movements, looked up from her genetic analysis workstation. Her people were masters of biological sciences, and she had spent months trying to understand what biological markers the armor might be seeking. "Perhaps we are approaching this incorrectly," she suggested, her melodious voice carrying across the chamber. "Instead of trying to force the armor to respond, maybe we should focus on understanding what it wants. Every scan shows it is actively analyzing whoever approaches. It is making decisions about compatibility." The room fell silent as the implications of her words sank in. For months they had treated the armor as a passive artifact to be studied and activated, but Nira was suggesting something far more complex and potentially dangerous. The armor was not just a tool waiting to be used. It was an intelligent entity making choices about who could wear it. Captain Zorks, a massive Krikarian warrior whose species had conquered half the outer rim before joining the Galactic Council, snorted dismissively. His rock-like hide glowed with inner heat as his temper flared. "Enough of this philosophical discussion," Zorks rumbled, his voice like grinding stone. "If the armor seeks a worthy warrior, then it should respond to one of the galaxy's greatest fighters. I have defeated enemies across 50 star systems. My people have never known defeat in single combat." Before anyone could stop him, Zork strode toward the armor's containment field. The other scientists scrambled to adjust the safety protocols as the massive warrior approached. His people were known for their directness and their inability to back down from any challenge. The moment Zorks' armored hand touched the containment field, the ancient armor reacted violently. Energy coursed across its surface and the patterns blazed with blinding light. But instead of opening to accept the Krikarian warrior, the armor seemed to recoil. The rejection was so violent that feedback energy knocked Zorks backward, sending his massive form crashing into a bank of monitoring equipment. "Fascinating," Keth observed, his tentacles moving rapidly as he recorded the interaction. The armor's rejection was not passive this time. It actively repelled Captain Zorks. This suggests that it is not simply incompatible with our biology. It is making active judgments about our suitability. Dr. Zephyr's skin had shifted to bright orange with excitement. "Look at the energy readings." The armor's power output increased by 300% during the rejection. "It is definitely more than just a scanning protocol. The armor is evaluating potential users based on criteria we do not understand." Commander Thax helped Zorks to his feet, her forearms easily supporting the dazed warrior's weight. "Are you injured, Captain?" Zork shook his massive head, his pride wounded more than his body. "The armor?" It felt wrong, like it was looking into my soul and finding me lacking. I have never experienced anything like it. The admission sent a chill through the assembled scientists. If the armor could reject a Krikarian warrior so completely, what chance did any of them have? Their species represented the pinnacle of galactic civilization. They were the smartest, strongest, and most advanced races known to exist. Dr. Nira approached her workstation with new purpose. If the armor is making judgments about compatibility, then there must be specific criteria it is seeking. Perhaps certain genetic markers, psychological profiles, or cultural characteristics. Or perhaps, Professor Keth suggested thoughtfully, it is designed for a species we have never encountered. The galaxy is vast, and despite our exploration efforts, we have only catalogued a fraction of the worlds that might harbor intelligent life. The idea that an unknown species might be the key to unlocking the armor's secrets was both exciting and troubling. If such a species existed, where were they? Why had they never made contact with the Galactic Council? And what connection did they have to this ancient and powerful technology? As the scientists continued their discussions and began planning new research protocols, none of them noticed the small transport ship that had just docked at Kepler Station's outer ring. Aboard that ship was a young human archaeological assistant named Marcus Chen, recently assigned to the station for his first deep space research position. The armor, still glowing faintly in its containment field, pulsed with what almost seemed like anticipation. For the first time in centuries, something it had been waiting for was finally approaching. The patterns on its surface shifted subtly, forming new configurations that the monitoring equipment dutifully recorded, but could not interpret. The galaxy's greatest mystery was about to be solved, but not by any of the brilliant minds currently studying it. Marcus Chen stepped off the transport with a mixture of excitement and nervousness coursing through his veins. At 26, he was young for a galactic archaeological assignment, but his work on pre-contact human civilizations had earned him recognition among the academic community. Kepler Station represented the opportunity of a lifetime, a chance to study artifacts from across the galaxy. The docking bay bustled with activity as beings from dozens of species went about their daily routines. Marcus had grown up on Earth during humanity's early years in the Galactic Council, so the sight of aliens was not new to him. Still, the sheer diversity never failed to amaze him. Humans were among the newest members of the galactic community, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 50 years ago. "Dr. Chen?" A melodious voice called out from the crowd. Marcus turned to see Dr. Nira approaching, her blue Centaurian features arranged in what he had learned was their equivalent of a welcoming smile. "I am Dr. Nira, head of biological research. We have been expecting you." Marcus adjusted his travel pack and extended his hand in the human greeting gesture. "Thank you for having me, Dr. Nira. I'm excited to begin working on the station. The reports about your current project sound fascinating." As they walked through the station's corridors, Nira explained the basics of their research. "The artifact we are studying predates any known civilization. It appears to be some form of advanced armor or environmental suit, but we cannot determine its origins or activate it." "Have you tried archaeological dating methods?" Marcus asked, his mind already working on the problem. Sometimes ancient artifacts respond to specific environmental conditions or ritual approaches that modern science overlooks. Nira's expression showed pleasant surprise. "That is an interesting perspective. Most of our team has focused on technological analysis rather than archaeological methodology. Your approach might provide new insights." They entered the main research facility, and Marcus immediately felt drawn to the central chamber where a crowd of scientists was gathered. Something about the room felt different, charged with an energy that made his skin tingle. As they approached the viewing area, he got his first look at the armor. The artifact was beautiful in a way that took his breath away. The flowing metal surface seemed to call to something deep inside him, and the pulsing patterns reminded him of ancient human cave paintings he had studied. There was something familiar about the design, though he could not place what it might be. "Remarkable," Marcus whispered, unconsciously stepping closer to the containment field. "The craftsmanship is incredible. Have you determined what the patterns represent?" Dr. Zephyr, whose crystalline skin was showing curious orange tones, approached them. "Dr. Chen, I presume?" I am Dr. Zephyr, the project's lead researcher. The patterns have defied all our attempts at translation. They appear to be decorative rather than functional, though we cannot be certain. Marcus studied the armor more closely, his archaeological training taking over. Actually, I think these might be more than decorative. See how they flow across the surface? This looks similar to narrative art forms found in many ancient cultures. They might be telling a story. The gathered scientists exchanged glances. None of them had considered that the patterns might be narrative rather than technological. Professor Keth's tentacles moved rapidly as he processed this new perspective. If they are telling a story, Keth said thoughtfully, then understanding that narrative might provide clues about the armor's origins and purpose. Dr. Chen, would you be willing to attempt an analysis using your archaeological methods? Of course, Marcus replied eagerly, but I would need to get much closer to see the details clearly. The patterns seem to shift and flow, which makes analysis from this distance difficult. Commander Thax, who had been observing the discussion, stepped forward. Approach carefully, Dr. Chen. The armor has rejected every attempt at contact so far. Captain Zorks was physically repelled when he tried to touch it earlier today. Marcus nodded but felt compelled to move closer despite the warning. As he approached the containment field, something extraordinary happened. The armor's glow intensified, but instead of the harsh, rejecting light it had shown to others, the patterns began to pulse in a rhythm that seemed almost welcoming. The energy readings are off the charts, Dr. Zephyr announced, his skin now blazing with excited orange and gold tones. But the pattern is completely different from previous interactions. The armor is not showing signs of rejection. Marcus placed his hand near the containment field boundary, and the armor responded by brightening further. The patterns on its surface began to move more rapidly, flowing like liquid starlight across the metal. For a moment, Marcus could swear he saw images forming in the flowing designs. I can see figures, Marcus said, his voice filled with wonder. There are beings in the patterns. They look almost human, but that cannot be right. This armor predates human civilization by thousands of years. The room fell silent as the implications of his words sank in. If the figures in the armor's patterns were indeed humanoid, it raised questions about the origins of intelligent life in the galaxy that challenged everything they thought they knew. Dr. Nira moved to her scanning equipment, her fingers flying over the controls. Dr. Chen, the armor is conducting a much more intensive scan of you than it has with any of us. The energy pattern suggested is analyzing your genetic structure, brain chemistry, even your psychological profile. Should I step back? Marcus asked, though he found himself reluctant to move away from the artifact. Being near it felt right in a way he could not explain. No, Professor Keth said firmly. This is the most significant response we have recorded. Continue your analysis, but be prepared to retreat quickly if the situation changes. Marcus studied the flowing patterns more intently, his archaeological training helping him identify recurring motifs and narrative elements. I think I understand part of what this is showing. The figures appear to be warriors or guardians of some kind. They are protecting something, or someone. As he spoke, the armor's glow intensified even further, and the patterns began to coalesce into clearer images. The assembled scientists watched in amazement as the story unfolded across the armor's surface like a living tapestry. There, Marcus pointed to a section where the patterns had formed into recognizable shapes. That figure in the center. It is definitely humanoid, but there is something different about it. The proportions, the way it moves through the narrative. It is like looking at an idealized version of humanity. Captain Zork, still nursing his wounded pride from his earlier rejection, moved closer. You speak as if you recognize these beings, Dr. Chen, but that would be impossible. Marcus frowned as he continued to study the images. I know it sounds crazy, but there is something familiar about all of this. The artistic style, the way the story is structured, even the figure at the center of the narrative. It reminds me of ancient human legends about heroes and guardians. The armor pulsed brighter, and suddenly Marcus understood. The realization hit him like a physical blow, and he staggered backward from the containment field. Dr. Chen, are you all right? Dr. Nira asked with concern. Marcus looked around at the assembled aliens, his mind reeling from what he had just discovered. I think this armor was made for humans, not modern humans, but our ancestors. The beings in these patterns, they are what humanity was meant to become. The research chamber erupted in excited discussion. as Marcus's words echoed through the room. The idea that this ancient armor might be connected to humanity sent shockwaves through the assembled scientists. Dr. Zephyr's crystalline skin cycled rapidly through colors as he processed the implications. "That is impossible," Professor Keth stated, his tentacles writhing with agitation. "Humans only achieved space travel 50 years ago. This armor predates your species' recorded history by millennia. The mathematical probability of such a connection is virtually zero." Marcus steadied himself against a nearby console, his mind racing as pieces of an impossible puzzle began to fit together. What if our recorded history is incomplete? What if humanity had contact with advanced technology before but lost it somehow? Dr. Nira approached her workstation, calling up genetic analysis data. "Dr. Chen, I need to run a detailed scan of your genetic markers. If the armor is indeed responding to human biology, there should be identifiable patterns in your DNA that correspond to its selection criteria." "Wait," Commander Thax interjected, her forearms gesturing for attention. "Before we proceed further, we need to consider the security implications. If this armor is designed for humans and it possesses technology beyond our understanding, we may be dealing with something far more significant than a simple archaeological artifact." Captain Zork stepped forward, his massive frame casting a shadow over the group. "Commander Thax is correct. If humans have some connection to this technology, the balance of power in the galaxy could shift dramatically. The Council must be informed immediately." Marcus felt a surge of defensive anger at the suggestion that humanity might pose a threat. "Captain, humans have been peaceful members of the Galactic Council since first contact. We have no hidden agenda or secret technology. This is as much a surprise to me as it is to all of you." The armor pulsed again, its glow intensifying as if responding to Marcus's emotional state. The patterns on its surface began moving faster, forming new configurations that drew everyone's attention back to the artifact. "The armor's activity is increasing," Dr. Zephyr observed, his skin now showing nervous purple tones. "Dr. Chen, your proximity and emotional responses seem to be triggering stronger reactions from the artifact." Marcus approached the containment field again, drawn by an inexplicable compulsion. As he got closer, the armor's patterns began to tell a clearer story. He could see figures that looked unmistakably human, but they were different somehow. Taller, stronger, more graceful than modern humans, they moved through scenes of great battles and noble sacrifices. "I can see it more clearly now," Marcus said, his voice filled with wonder. "These are not just random figures. They are specific individuals. Heroes, I think. And they are fighting something dark and terrible." The patterns shifted to show massive, shadowy creatures that seemed to devour light itself. The human figures stood against them with weapons of pure energy, their armor shining like stars in the darkness. It was a war between light and shadow, order and chaos. Dr. Nira looked up from her genetic scanner, her expression troubled. "Dr. Chen, I am detecting anomalies in your genetic structure. There are sequences I have never seen before, dormant patterns that appear to be activating in response to the armor's presence." "What kind of anomalies?" Marcus asked, though part of him was afraid to hear the answer. "Your DNA contains genetic markers that suggest enhancement or modification, but the techniques used are far beyond current human capabilities. It is as if your ancestors were genetically engineered by an advanced civilization." The implications of her discovery sent a chill through the room. If ancient humans had been genetically modified by unknown aliens, it raised questions about humanity's true origins and purpose that no one was prepared to confront. Professor Keth's tentacles moved rapidly as he processed new data streams. "I have been analyzing the armor's scanning patterns, and I believe Dr. Nira's genetic findings are correct. The armor is not just looking for human biology, it is searching for specific genetic sequences that appear to be artificial in origin." Marcus felt dizzy as the weight of these revelations pressed down on him. "Are you saying that humanity was created to use this armor? That we are some kind of engineered species designed for a specific purpose?" "The evidence certainly suggests that possibility," Dr. Zephyr admitted reluctantly. "But if that is true, then where are the beings who created you? And why was the armor left abandoned on a dead world?" The armor pulsed again, and this time the pattern showed scenes of departure and loss. The enhanced humans were leaving, traveling among the stars, but something had gone wrong. Their cities fell dark, their technology failed, and the survivors scattered across the galaxy. "A collapse," Marcus whispered, understanding flooding through him. Something happened to the civilization that created this technology. The enhanced humans. They were scattered or destroyed. Only primitive humans survived on Earth, and we lost all knowledge of our true heritage. Commander Thax moved closer to examine the readouts from various monitoring stations. If this theory is correct, then humanity may be the inheritor of a technology that could reshape the galaxy. The political ramifications are staggering. Captain Zorx's expression had shifted from suspicion to something approaching respect. A warrior race created for battle against the darkness. If the armor accepts you, Dr. Chen, you may be the key to understanding an ancient war that could still be raging. The armor's glow suddenly intensified beyond anything they had seen before. The patterns on its surface began to move in perfect synchronization, forming a complex mandala of light that seemed to reach out toward Marcus. He felt an overwhelming urge to touch the containment field, to make contact with his heritage. The energy readings are going critical, Dr. Zephyr announced, his skin now blazing white with alarm. The armor is preparing for something. All monitoring systems are showing unprecedented activity levels. Dr. Nira looked up from her genetic analysis with excitement and fear in her eyes. Dr. Chen, the genetic sequences in your DNA are fully activating. Your body is changing at the cellular level. The armor is not just scanning you anymore. It is preparing you. Marcus could feel the changes she described. Energy coursed through his veins, and his perception seemed to sharpen and expand. Colors became more vivid, sounds more distinct, and he could sense the emotions of everyone in the room as if they were his own. "What is happening to me?" he asked, though part of him already knew the answer. "You are becoming what you were meant to be," Professor Keth said with awe in his voice. "The armor is awakening the dormant potential in your genetic code. You are transforming into one of the enhanced humans from the armor's memories." The armor's patterns suddenly coalesced into a single, brilliant design that pulsed with invitation. The containment field flickered and began to fail as the artifact prepared to open itself to its chosen wearer. "Everyone step back," Commander Thax ordered, but her voice carried wonder rather than fear. "I think we are about to witness something that has not happened for thousands of years." Marcus stood transfixed as the armor called to him across the centuries, offering him a connection to humanity's forgotten past and perhaps its destined future. The containment field collapsed with a shower of sparks, and the ancient armor stood unprotected for the first time in 3 centuries. Marcus felt an irresistible pull toward the artifact as energy crackled around the chamber. Every instinct told him to reach out and touch the gleaming metal, but the rational part of his mind screamed warnings about the unknown consequences. "Dr. Chen, you must be extremely careful," Dr. Nira called out, her voice tight with concern. "The genetic changes in your body are accelerating. Your cellular structure is being rewritten by forces we do not understand." Marcus could feel the transformation happening within him. His muscles felt stronger, his mind clearer, and his senses more acute than ever before. It was as if a hidden part of himself was awakening after a long sleep. The armor seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat, calling to him across the ages. "The energy readings are beyond anything our instruments can measure," Dr. Zephyr announced, his crystalline skin now glowing with reflected light from the armor. "Whatever technology powers this artifact operates on principles that surpass our current understanding of physics." Professor Keth's tentacles moved frantically as he recorded data streams from dozens of monitoring devices. The armor appears to be generating a field that affects spacetime itself. The area around it is experiencing temporal fluctuations and dimensional distortions. Captain Zork stepped forward, his warrior instincts overriding his scientific curiosity. "Dr. Chen, if you are going to do this, you must be prepared for anything. That armor has rejected every other being who approached it. We do not know what will happen when it finally accepts someone." Marcus nodded, understanding the risks but feeling compelled to proceed. The patterns on the armor's surface were showing him new images now. Scenes of ancient battles where enhanced humans had fought against creatures of pure darkness. He could see himself among them, fighting alongside heroes whose names had been lost to history. "I can see the war," Marcus said, his voice distant as the visions filled his mind. The enemy was not from this reality. They came from somewhere else, somewhere dark and cold. The armor and the enhanced humans were created to fight them. Commander Thax watched the readouts with growing alarm. "Dr. Chen, if these enemies still exist somewhere in the galaxy, then activating that armor could be sending them a signal. We might be announcing humanity's return to an ancient conflict." The thought sent a chill through the room, but Marcus felt a strange sense of purpose settling over him. If humanity had been created to fight this ancient enemy, then perhaps it was time to take up that responsibility again. The armor pulsed brighter as if sensing his resolve. "I have to try," Marcus said, extending his hand toward the gleaming metal. "If this is humanity's heritage, then I cannot turn away from it. Too many questions will remain unanswered if we do not take this step." The moment his fingers touched the armor's surface, the world exploded into light and sensation. Energy coursed through Marcus's body as the armor began to flow over his skin like liquid metal. The sensation was not painful, but it was overwhelming. He could feel the armor connecting with his nervous system, his genetic code, even his thoughts and memories. Images flooded his mind as the armor shared its vast store of knowledge. He saw the rise of the ancient human civilization, their enhancement by mysterious benefactors and their long war against entities from beyond the stars. He witnessed the fall of great cities, the scattering of the enhanced humans, and the slow decline that left only primitive survivors on a forgotten world called Earth. The armor continued to flow over his body, adapting itself to his form while enhancing his capabilities beyond human limits. His strength increased exponentially, his reflexes became superhuman, and his mind expanded to accommodate new forms of perception and understanding. "Incredible," Dr. Nira breathed, watching as the armor completed its integration with Marcus's body. The biological readings show complete symbiosis. The armor is not just worn, it has become part of him. Marcus felt the armor's consciousness merge with his own. It was not alive in the traditional sense, but it contained the accumulated experience and knowledge of thousands of enhanced humans who had worn it before him. Their courage, their sacrifice, and their dedication to protecting the innocent became part of his identity. "I can hear them," Marcus said, his voice now carrying harmonic overtones that resonated through the chamber. "All the warriors who wore this armor before me, they are guiding me, teaching me how to use its power." The armor's surface settled into its final configuration, creating a seamless second skin that enhanced every aspect of Marcus's physical form. Intricate patterns of light flowed across its surface, displaying information and responding to his thoughts and emotions. Dr. Zephyr approached cautiously, his scanning equipment detecting energy levels that defied comprehension. "Dr. Chen, the armor appears to be drawing power from quantum fluctuations in space-time itself. You have access to virtually unlimited energy." Marcus raised his hand and watched as the armor's pattern shifted to accommodate his movement. He could feel the vast potential contained within the ancient technology, power enough to level mountains or shield entire planets. But with that power came responsibility and the weight of humanity's forgotten purpose. "The enemy is still out there," Marcus said, his enhanced senses detecting disturbances in space-time that the station's instruments could not perceive. "I can feel them probing the edges of reality, looking for ways to return. The armor was hidden to keep it safe until humanity was ready to face them again." Professor Keth's tentacles writhed with excitement and fear. "If these entities truly exist, then the entire galaxy may be in danger. The Galactic Council must be warned immediately." Commander Thax activated her communication systems, preparing to send emergency signals to Council headquarters. "I will contact the fleet and request immediate military support. If we are facing an ancient enemy, we will need every available resource." Marcus felt the armor's guidance system activate, filling his mind with tactical information and strategic assessments. The ancient enemy was indeed stirring, drawn by the armor's activation after centuries of dormancy. They had been waiting, gathering strength in the dark spaces between stars. And now they knew that their ancient opponents had returned. "It may already be too late for warnings," Marcus said, his enhanced senses detecting massive disturbances in nearby space. "They are coming. The activation of the armor has called them back to finish what they started long ago." Captain Zorks moved to the weapons locker, his warrior instincts taking over. "Then we prepare for battle. If humanity's ancient enemies want to fight, they will find one." The armor's warning system suddenly blazed to life, filling Marcus's awareness with threat assessments and tactical recommendations. Something vast and terrible was moving through hyperspace toward their location, drawn by the energy signature of the awakened armor. "How long do we have?" Dr. Nira asked, her scientific curiosity warring with very reasonable fear. Marcus consulted the armor's sensors, his consciousness expanding to encompass vast reaches of space around the station. Hours may be less. They are moving faster than anything in our current technology can achieve. We need to evacuate the station and prepare for the first battle in a war that has been dormant for millennia. The ancient conflict was about to resume, and humanity's role as the galaxy's guardians was about to be tested once again. The evacuation alarm echoed through Kepler Station, as thousands of beings from dozens of species scrambled to reach escape pods and transport ships. Commander Thax coordinated the emergency response with military precision, her forearms working multiple communication panels simultaneously as she directed the massive exodus. Marcus stood in the research chamber, his armor-enhanced senses tracking the approach of the ancient enemy through dimensions that normal technology could not perceive. The armor fed him constant updates on their speed, trajectory, and estimated arrival time. What he sensed filled him with both dread and grim determination. They are not ships in any sense we would understand, Marcus explained to the scientists who had chosen to remain behind to assist with the evacuation. These entities exist partially outside our reality. They can manipulate spacetime directly, which is why they move so much faster than conventional vessels. Dr. Zephyr's crystalline skin had shifted to deep purple with fear, but his scientific curiosity kept him focused on his instruments. The energy readings from your armor suggest you have access to similar capabilities. Can you engage them on equal terms? Marcus felt the armor's tactical systems analyzing potential combat scenarios. The knowledge of countless ancient warriors flowed through his consciousness, teaching him strategies and techniques that had been developed over centuries of warfare against these same enemies. The armor gives me significant advantages, Marcus replied, but I am only one warrior. The ancient enhanced humans fought in armies, with coordinated tactics and multiple armor suits working together. I will be facing them alone. Professor Keth approached with a portable data storage device, his tentacles moving urgently. Dr. Chen, I have compiled all our research data about the armor and your transformation. If you survive this encounter, this information may be crucial for creating more suits or understanding how to enhance other humans. Marcus accepted the device, and the armor immediately interfaced with it, absorbing and cataloging all the scientific data in microseconds. The ancient technology was far more advanced than anything the Galactic Council possessed, operating on principles that seemed almost magical in their sophistication. The evacuation is 60% complete, Commander Thax announced. Dr. Chen, our long-range sensors are detecting massive spatial distortions approaching from multiple vectors. Whatever is coming, there are many of them. Marcus felt the armor's warning systems intensify as his enhanced perception detected the enemy fleet's true size. Hundreds of entities were converging on their location, each one capable of devastating entire star systems. The ancient war had not ended with humanity's disappearance. It had merely been postponed. They remember this place, Marcus said, his voice carrying the harmonic resonance of the armor's communication systems. Kepler Station was built near the coordinates where the armor was discovered. This sector was once a major battleground in the ancient war. Dr. Nira looked up from her genetic analysis station, her expression troubled. Dr. Chen, I am detecting something unusual. The genetic sequences in your DNA that were activated by the armor appear to be sending out some kind of signal. It is as if your transformation is broadcasting to other humans across the galaxy. The implications of her discovery were staggering. If Marcus's activation of the armor was somehow awakening dormant genetic potential in other humans, it could mean that an entire army of enhanced warriors might be emerging across human space. The armor's makers planned for this, Marcus realized as the ancient memories became clearer. They scattered enhanced genetic sequences throughout the human population, dormant seeds waiting for the armor's activation signal. When the enemy returned, humanity would be ready. Captain Zorks, who had been coordinating defensive preparations, approached with tactical displays showing the station's limited armaments. Dr. Chen, our weapons are useless against entities that can manipulate spacetime. If you cannot stop them, we are all going to die. Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders like a physical burden. Thousands of lives depended on his ability to master technologies and techniques he had never trained for. The armor's guidance systems were invaluable, but they could not replace experience and practice. The first wave will arrive in 30 minutes, Marcus announced after consulting the armor's sensors. Commander Thax, you need to get everyone off this station immediately. I will do what I can to delay them, but I cannot guarantee success. Commander Thax's mandibles clicked with determination. Negative, Dr. Chen. Kepler Station has considerable defensive capabilities, and we will not abandon you to face this threat alone. The Galactic Council fleet may not arrive in time, but we will make our stand here. The armor's tactical systems immediately began integrating the station's defenses into Marcus's combat awareness. While the conventional weapons would be largely ineffective against the ancient enemy, the station's shield generators and power systems could be adapted to support the armor's more exotic capabilities. If you are staying, then we need to modify the station's systems, Marcus said, his enhanced intellect already formulating plans that combined cutting-edge galactic technology with ancient human innovations. The armor can interface with your computers, but I will need access to the primary power grid and shield generators. Dr. Zephyr's skin shifted to bright orange with excitement, despite the danger. The theoretical possibilities are incredible. If we can merge the armor's technology with our own systems, we might create defensive capabilities that surpass anything either civilization could achieve alone. The next 20 minutes passed in a blur of frantic activity as Marcus worked with the station's engineers to integrate the armor's systems. With Kepler Station's infrastructure, his enhanced abilities allowed him to understand and modify alien technologies in ways that should have been impossible for any single individual. Professor Keth monitored the approaching enemy fleet while Marcus worked, his tentacles trembling with anticipation and fear. The entities are beginning to emerge from hyperspace at the edge of the system. Dr. Chen, the energy readings are beyond comprehension. Each one appears to possess the power of a small star. Marcus felt the armor's combat protocols activating as the enemy drew closer. Ancient instincts that had been encoded into the genetic memory of his enhanced predecessors began to surface, guiding his movements and reactions. He was no longer just a human archaeologist wearing alien armor. He was becoming something more. They call themselves the Void Seekers, Marcus said as the armor's memories provided him with intelligence about the enemy. They exist to consume order and spread chaos throughout the universe. They cannot create, only destroy, so they seek to unmake everything that represents life and civilization. The station's modified shields came online, now enhanced by the armor's exotic energy patterns. Instead of simple deflection barriers, they created defensive fields that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, designed to counter the Void Seeker's reality warping abilities. Emergence detected, Commander Thax announced as the first enemy entities materialized in normal space near the station. They are unlike anything in our databases. The sensors cannot get stable readings on their physical structure. Marcus looked out through the station's viewports and saw his enemy for the first time. The Void Seekers appeared as writhing masses of darkness that seemed to absorb light itself. They moved through space without any visible means of propulsion, their forms constantly shifting between dimensions as they approached the station. Remember, Marcus said to the station's defenders, these entities feed on fear and despair. Stay focused on your duties and trust in the armor's protection. This is the battle our ancestors trained for, even if they never knew it. The first Void Seeker reached weapons range, and the ancient war resumed after millennia of silence. The first Void Seeker struck the station's shields with tendrils of pure darkness that seemed to reach across multiple dimensions simultaneously. The modified defensive barriers held, but Marcus could feel the ancient entity probing for weaknesses with malevolent intelligence. The armor's systems immediately began analyzing the attack patterns and formulating countermeasures. Shield integrity holding at 95%, Commander Thax reported from the command center. But the energy drain is enormous. At this rate, we can maintain full defensive power for perhaps 30 minutes. Marcus stood in the station's primary shield generator chamber, his armor directly interfaced with the defensive systems. Through the armor's enhanced perception, he could sense the Void Seeker's true nature. It was not merely a creature of darkness, but a living wound in reality itself, a sentient tear in the fabric of space-time. These entities do not just attack physically, Marcus explained to the defenders through the station's communication system. They assault the fundamental structure of reality. Our conventional understanding of combat is useless against them. Dr. Zephyr monitored the enemy's approach from his modified sensor array, his crystalline skin cycling through colors that reflected both fear and scientific fascination. Dr. Chen, I am detecting at least 20 more entities approaching from different vectors. They appear to be coordinating their assault. The armor fed Marcus tactical information about ancient battle strategies developed specifically for fighting multiple Void Seekers. His predecessors had learned that these entities could combine their reality warping abilities to create devastating synergistic effects. Fighting them required precision, speed, and the willingness to take enormous risks. "I need to take the fight to them," Marcus announced, feeling the armor's flight systems coming online. "If they establish a stable dimensional anchor near the station, they will be able to tear this entire region of space apart." Professor Keth's tentacles writhed with concern. "Dr. Chen, the vacuum of space is their natural environment. You would be fighting them on their terms without any support from the station's systems." Marcus felt the armor's confidence flowing through his consciousness. The ancient technology had been designed specifically for this type of combat, and the memories of countless battles provided him with the knowledge he needed. He was not just one human against impossible odds. He was the inheritor of humanity's greatest warriors. "The armor can sustain me in space indefinitely," Marcus replied, "and I will not be entirely without support. The station's modified sensors can track the entity's dimensional shifts and relay, targeting information to the armor's weapons systems." Commander Thax coordinated the technical preparations while the Void Seekers continued their probing attacks against the shields. "Dr. Chen, we can maintain communication and sensor support, but once you leave the station's protective barriers, you will be on your own against forces that have destroyed entire civilizations." Marcus approached the station's main airlock, feeling the armor's systems adapting for combat in the void. The ancient technology transformed around him, creating additional armor plating and extending energy projection arrays that would serve as his primary weapons. The patterns on the armor's surface shifted to display tactical information and targeting data. Dr. Nira watched the transformation with amazement. "The armor is rebuilding itself for space combat. Dr. Chen, your genetic markers are continuing to evolve. You are becoming something that has never existed before, a fusion of ancient enhancement and modern human consciousness." The airlock cycled, and Marcus stepped into the vacuum of space for the first time as an enhanced human. The armor's life support systems were seamless, providing him with everything he needed while leaving his mind free to focus on combat. Through the armor's enhanced senses, he could perceive the Void Seekers as they truly were: vast, malevolent intelligences that existed to unmake the ordered universe. The nearest Void Seeker immediately detected his presence and turned its attention away from the station. Marcus felt its alien consciousness probe against his mind, seeking to instill the same despair and terror that had broken so many civilizations before, but the armor's mental shielding held firm, protecting his sanity while allowing him to study his enemy. "First contact established," Marcus reported to the station. "The entity is attempting psychological warfare. I can feel it trying to show me visions of humanity's destruction, but the armor is protecting me from its influence." The Void Seeker attacked with tentacles of living darkness that moved faster than light itself. Marcus dodged using the armor's dimensional shifting capabilities, moving through layers of space-time that allowed him to avoid the creature's strikes while closing to weapons range. The armor's primary weapon systems activated, projecting beams of pure order and stability that struck the Void Seeker's chaotic form. The ancient technology was specifically designed to counter the entity's reality warping abilities, forcing it to maintain a more stable dimensional presence. "Target is responding to armor weapons," Marcus announced as he engaged in deadly aerial combat around the space station. The ancient humans definitely knew how to hurt these things, but the Void Seeker was far from defeated. It began to pulse with malevolent energy, calling to its companions scattered throughout the system. Marcus felt the armor's warning systems activate as more entities began converging on their location, drawn by the sounds of battle. Dr. Zephyr tracked the approaching reinforcements with growing alarm. "Dr. Chen, we have multiple contacts inbound from all directions. They are moving through dimensions we cannot even detect properly." Marcus pressed his attack against the first Void Seeker, using combat techniques that had been refined over centuries of warfare. The armor guided his movements, helping him anticipate the creature's attacks while maximizing the effectiveness of his own strikes. But he knew that facing multiple enemies would require different tactics. "I need to end this quickly," Marcus said, feeling the armor's most powerful weapon systems coming online. If the other entities establish a dimensional matrix around the station, They will be able to tear holes in space-time itself. The armor channeled energy from quantum fluctuations throughout the local region, building to a devastating crescendo of ordered force. Marcus felt the power building within the ancient technology, enough energy to shatter planets or stabilize collapsing stars. The enhanced humans had created weapons capable of fighting entities that existed beyond normal physical laws. All station personnel take cover, Marcus warned as he prepared to unleash the armor's full potential. This is going to create significant dimensional disturbances. The beam that erupted from the armor was not light or energy in any conventional sense. It was pure order made manifest, a lance of absolute stability that struck the Void Seeker's chaotic form and began to unravel its existence. The entity's death scream echoed across multiple dimensions, a sound of pure malevolence that made reality itself tremble. But even as the first Void Seeker dissolved back into the chaos from which it came, Marcus could sense the other entities arriving. The real battle was just beginning, and he would need every technique and strategy that the ancient warriors had developed if he hoped to protect the station and its inhabitants. The armor's tactical display showed 23 more Void Seekers approaching from different angles, each one learning from the fate of their fallen companion. They would not underestimate the returned Guardian again. The remaining Void Seekers had learned from their companion's destruction. Instead of attacking individually, they began to weave themselves into a complex dimensional matrix around Kepler Station. Marcus felt the armor's warning systems blazing as reality itself began to warp under their combined influence. "They are creating a reality storm," Marcus announced to the station as he maneuvered between the converging entities. "If they complete their formation, they will be able to unravel the fundamental forces that hold this region of space together." Commander Thax watched the tactical displays with growing desperation. The station's conventional weapons could not even target enemies that existed partially outside normal spacetime. Their only hope lay with the lone human warrior who carried the legacy of an ancient war. "Dr. Chen, we are detecting massive distortions in the space around the station," Dr. Zephyr reported, his crystalline skin now glowing white with alarm. "If these readings are accurate, they are preparing to collapse local spacetime into a dimensional singularity." Marcus felt the armor's tactical systems analyzing the Void Seeker's strategy. The ancient memories provided him with knowledge of similar attacks from the old war. The entities were attempting to create a controlled collapse of reality that would spread outward like an infection, eventually consuming entire star systems. "I cannot fight them all simultaneously," Marcus admitted as he dodged attacks from multiple directions. "But I do not have to. The armor is detecting something else, other signals responding to the activation beacon." Across human space, dormant genetic sequences were awakening in response to the armor's signal. On Earth, Mars, and dozens of colony worlds, individuals with the right genetic markers were experiencing the same transformation that Marcus had undergone. The ancient safeguards were finally activating after millennia of dormancy. "Dr. Nira, are you detecting anything unusual in the genetic analysis systems?" Marcus asked as he engaged two Void Seekers simultaneously, using the armor's dimensional shifting abilities to avoid their reality-warping attacks. Dr. Nira looked up from her monitors with amazement. "Dr. Chen, I am receiving reports from across human space. Individuals are experiencing spontaneous genetic activation. The transformation is spreading through the population like a controlled epidemic." The armor fed Marcus strategic information about the awakening process. The ancient humans had designed the genetic triggers to activate in waves, ensuring that enhanced warriors would emerge gradually rather than all at once. It would prevent the panic and social disruption that might result from sudden mass transformation. "How long before significant numbers of enhanced humans become available?" Marcus asked while unleashing another devastating attack against the nearest Void Seeker. The creature's form wavered under the assault but did not dissipate entirely. Professor Keth's tentacles moved rapidly as he processed incoming data from across the galaxy. "Based on the reports we are receiving, the first wave of transformations should be complete within hours. However, those individuals will need time to master their new abilities." Marcus felt a surge of hope as he realized that humanity's ancient destiny was finally being fulfilled. But hope was tempered by the immediate reality of his situation. The Void Seekers were nearly finished with their dimensional matrix, and he was running out of time to stop them. I need to disrupt their formation before they can complete the reality storm, Marcus said, feeling the armor's most desperate combat protocols coming online. This is going to require everything the armor can give me. The ancient technology began to draw power from sources that existed beyond normal space-time. Marcus felt his consciousness expanding as the armor tapped into the fundamental forces of creation itself. The enhanced humans had learned to weaponize the basic building blocks of reality, turning order and stability into instruments of war. All station personnel, implement emergency dimensional shielding, Marcus warned as he prepared for his final assault. I am going to attempt to overload their matrix before they can complete it. Marcus accelerated toward the center of the Void Seeker's formation, the armor systems pushing beyond their normal operating parameters. The ancient warriors had known that some battles could only be won through absolute commitment, risking everything to achieve victory against impossible odds. The Void Seekers sensed his approach and turned their combined attention toward him. Reality warped and twisted around Marcus as 23 entities focused their reality-altering abilities on a single target. But the armor held firm, its multi-dimensional shielding protecting him from attacks that should have unmade his existence. Marcus reached the center of their formation and unleashed the armor's ultimate weapon. Instead of attacking the Void Seekers directly, he struck at the dimensional matrix they had created, sending pulses of pure order into the carefully constructed pattern of chaos and destruction. The matrix began to collapse as its fundamental structure was disrupted. The Void Seekers writhed in fury and pain as their reality storm turned back on them, the chaotic energies they had gathered now consuming their own forms. One by one, they dissolved back into the primordial darkness from which they had emerged. The dimensional distortions are collapsing, Dr. Zephyr announced with relief. Dr. Chen, you have successfully disrupted their attack pattern. Marcus floated in space among the dissipating energies of his defeated enemies, feeling the armor's system slowly returning to normal operational status. The immediate threat was over, but he knew this was only the beginning. The Void Seekers had been searching for humanity for millennia, and now they knew that the ancient guardians had returned. Commander Thax, send a message to the Galactic Council, Marcus said as he prepared to return to the station. Tell them that humanity has accepted its role as the galaxy's defenders. The ancient war has resumed, but this time we will be ready for it. As Marcus docked with Kepler Station, reports continued to arrive from across human space. Enhanced humans were awakening on every world, each one carrying the genetic legacy of the ancient guardians. The armor had not just chosen Marcus, it had chosen an entire species to stand against the darkness. Dr. Nira approached him as he emerged from the airlock, her expression filled with wonder and respect. Dr. Chen, the genetic analysis shows that your transformation is now complete and stable. You have become something entirely new, a bridge between humanity's past and its future. Marcus felt the weight of his new responsibilities settling around him like a comfortable cloak. The armor had not just given him power. It had connected him to a legacy of heroism and sacrifice that stretched back through the ages. The Void Seekers will return in greater numbers, Marcus said, looking out at the stars through the station's viewports. But when they do, they will find that humanity remembers its purpose. We are the guardians of order in a chaotic universe, and we will not let the darkness win. Professor Keth approached with data tablets filled with information about the awakening enhanced humans. Dr. Chen, we have requests for training and guidance from across human space. You are the first of your kind, but you will not be the last. Marcus smiled as he felt the armor's knowledge banks opening to him, revealing training protocols and tactical manuals that would help him teach the next generation of guardians. Humanity had been scattered and diminished for millennia, but the ancient spark still burned within them. The galaxy would face many challenges in the years to come, but it would not face them alone. The armor had found its rightful wearer, and through him humanity had reclaimed its destiny as the universe's protectors. The long war against chaos had begun again, but this time the Guardians would not fall.